I swung the apartment door open, the jangle of my keys cutting through the Friday night quiet. Work had been a grind 8 hours of spreadsheets and coffee breath, but I was home now. The clock above the stove blinked 6:58, and I could already taste the cold beer waiting in the fridge. Nina and I had this ritual: crack a couple cans, kick back, maybe watch some dumb reality show. Tonight, I promised her a beef bowl, nothing fancy. Just ground beef sizzling in the pan, rice steaming on the counter. I dropped my bag by the couch, the thud muffled by the carpet, and tugged at my tie. My sneakers stayed on. I'd deal with them later. My phone buzzed in my pocket as I crossed to the kitchen. I fished it out, expecting Nina's usual on-my-way text. Instead, the screen lit up with her name and a wall of words that hit me like a punch. "Hey, good job today. Sorry to hit you with this out of nowhere, but I can't lie to myself anymore. I realized I love Nelson, not you. I'm so sorry." I stopped dead, one hand on the fridge handle. Nelson? Her ex from way back? The guy she swore was ancient history? My thumb hovered over the screen, rereading it, waiting for the just kidding that never came. The room felt smaller, the hum of the fridge louder. I yanked the door open, grabbed a beer, and popped the tab with a hiss. The first gulp burned cold, sharp, nothing like the relief it usually brought. I wiped my mouth with the back of my hand, pacing the linoleum. "What the hell, Nina?" I muttered, my voice bouncing off the empty walls. Was she with him right now? Had she been sneaking around? I pictured her laughing with him, that easy smile she used to give me, and my grip tightened on the can until it dented. I sank onto the couch, the cushion sagging under me, and stared at the phone again. Maybe she'd call. Maybe she'd walk through that door any second, say it was a dumb fight, a mistake. My leg bounced, the heel of my sneaker tapping the floor. The beef sat untouched on the counter, the rice cooker silent. I took another swig, the fizz stinging my throat, and set the can down hard. No way she'd just leave like this, 3 years gone in a text. I snatched the phone up, thumbs hovering, but I didn't type. What was I supposed to say? Come back? Screw you? Instead, I tossed it onto the coffee table, the clatter loud in the stillness, and leaned back, eyes burning. She'd picked him, and I was stuck here, waiting. Below is scene 2 of the expanded 4,500-word novel, written in American English at 800 words. With a slight buffer to account for the noted tendency to undershoot by 10%, targeting around 880 words initially, but trimmed to fit. It adheres to the provided creative writing guidelines, focusing on Ray's distinctive voice, dynamic dialogue, fast-paced action, and emotional subtext, all from his first-person perspective. I'm leaning against the kitchen counter, arms crossed, when the door creaks open the next day. Nina walks in, her eyes puffy but her chin high, like she's got some noble cause to defend. My jaw tightens. I've barely slept, the couch still dented from where I crashed last night, replaying her text over and over. "Hey," she says, voice soft like she's testing the waters. I don't move. "Hey, that's it?" She drops her bag by the door, the thud echoing in the quiet apartment. "Ray, She stops, fiddling with her sleeve. "I want a divorce. It's Nelson." The words hit like a punch, but I keep my face stone cold. "You realize you're married, right? To me?" I say, slow and sharp. She flinches, tears welling up. "He called me yesterday, crying, said he's done with life. I couldn't just leave him. He needs me." Her voice trembles, but it's not guilt I hear. It's conviction. I slide my phone from my pocket, thumb the record button, and set it on the counter, screen down. "So you ran off to him? Just like that?" She nods, oblivious, wiping her eyes. "I had to. He's falling apart, Ray, you don't get it." I step closer, keeping my tone even. "What don't I get? That you ditched me for your ex the second he snapped his fingers?" She looks away, mumbling, "It's not like that." But it is. I can see it in the way she won't meet my eyes. "Fine," I say, grabbing the phone. "Say what you need to. I'm listening." She hesitates, then spills Itho Nelson's a mess, how she's his lifeline. Every word's a nail in the coffin of her marriage, and I let her hammer them in, recording it all. When she's done, she pulls divorce papers from her bag, hands trembling, and slides them across the counter. "I'll stay at a hotel till this is sorted," she mutters, then grabs her stuff and bolts. The door slams, and I'm alone again, the papers staring up at me like a taunt. I don't waste time. That afternoon, I'm on the phone with a PI, some guy named Vince, with a gravelly voice and a no-nonsense vibe. "Need proof she's cheating," I tell him, pacing the living room. She says hotel, but I don't buy it. He grunts. "Give me a week, you'll get photos." I hang up, my pulse racing. I'm not letting her walk away clean, not after this. The next few days drag. My nights spent tossing on the couch, the fridge humming in the dark. Every creak of the building makes me think she's back, but it's just the wind. Vince delivers on day 4. I meet him in a diner downtown, the air thick with grease and coffee. He slides a folder across the table, photos of Nina heading to Nelson's place after work, laughing over coffee on Saturday, their hands brushing. No hotel, just lies. I grip the folder, knuckles white. "Thanks," I say, voice tight. He nods. "Good luck, man. I'm already planning my next move lawyer's office tomorrow." Mike, my attorney, lays it out. $30,000 settlement for her infidelity. "She'll fight it," he warns, "but I don't care. I want her to feel this." She shows up a week later, all casual, like nothing's happened. "Hey, $500 should cover it, right?" she says, leaning against the doorframe. "Just send me your bank info." I smirk, sliding the photos across the table, her and Nelson, cozy as hell. "You've been living with him, Nina, every damn day. Here's the proof." Her face drains of color, eyes darting to the stack. "It's not cheating," she snaps, voice shrill. "I was gonna wait till we're done to be with him." I point at the evidence. "Bullshit. You don't get to rewrite this. $30,000. Sign it." She's shaking now, hands fumbling as she grabs the pen. "I'll pay Nelson's share too," she stammers. "He's suffering, Ray. I can't let him deal with this." She scribbles her name, tears smudging the ink, and storms out. I watch her go, the door banging shut, and lean back in my chair. The apartment's silent again, but I feel it, a spark of control, a flicker of justice. She thinks she's saving him, but I've got her pinned, and I'm just getting started. I'm sitting in my car outside Sarah's house, gripping the steering wheel, the engine still running. The PI's folder sits on the passenger seat, stuffed with Nelson's dirt court records, debt notices, the works. Nina's sob story about his ex-wife doesn't add up, and I need answers. Sarah's address was easy to find. She's just a few miles away, in a quiet suburb with neat lawns and kids' bikes scattered on driveways. I kill the engine, take a breath, and step out. The air's crisp, the kind that clears your head. I need that right now. The doorbell's a soft chime, and after a moment, the door swings open. Sarah's standing there, mid-30s, blonde hair tied back, eyes sharp but tired. She's got a dish towel slung over her shoulder, and behind her, I hear cartoons blaring. "Ray, right?" she says, her voice steady but curious. I nod. "Yeah, thanks for meeting me." She steps aside, letting me in. The living room's cozy worn couch, toys on the floor, a half-finished puzzle on the coffee table. It feels lived in, like a home. We sit across from each other, the television muted now. Emily, her 6-year-old, peeks around the corner, all curls and big eyes. Sarah smiles at her. "Go play, sweetie." Emily scampers off, and Sarah turns back to me, folding her hands. "So, you're here about Nelson." It's not a question. I lean forward, elbows on my knees. "Ninamik said you left him with a ton of debt, but the records say different." Sarah's laugh is short, bitter. "Figures. He's always twisting things." She grabs a stack of papers from a drawer, spreads them on the table: divorce decree, custody orders, debt statements. "Nelson cheated, blew our savings on his flings, then bailed on us. I fought for child support and the court made him pay. That's it." I scan the documents, my jaw tightening. "So the debt's his, not yours." She nods. "All his. I'm just trying to keep a roof over Emily's head." I glance toward the hallway, where Emily's giggling at something. "You're doing a hell of a job," I say, and mean it. Sarah leans back, studying me. Why are you digging into this? You're not with Nina anymore, right? I shrug, running a hand through my hair. Closure, I guess. And I don't like being lied to. She nods, like she gets it. Nelson's good at that lying. He's got Nina wrapped around his finger now, huh? I snort. Yeah, she's paying his debts, thinking she's saving him. Sarah's eyes widen. Wait, she's covering his child support? I frown. What? She pulls out another paper bank statements. He's been sending me money every month, but it's not from him. The account's in Nina's name. My stomach twists. She's paying your child support? Sarah nods, lips pressed in. Didn't know it was her. Just thought he finally got his act together. I lean back, exhaling hard. She's clueless. Thinks he's the victim. Sarah's quiet for a beat, then says, she'll figure it out. They always do too late. Emily bursts in, holding a crayon drawing stick figures under a rainbow. Look, Mommy. Sarah's face softens, and she pulls Emily onto her lap. That's beautiful, baby. Emily beams, then looks at me. Who are you? I smile, awkward. I'm Ray, a friend. She tilts her head. Want to see my puzzles? Sarah laughs. Maybe later, Em. Let Ray breathe. But I don't mind. There's something about this Sarah's strength, Emily's innocence that feels right. We talk for another hour, mostly about Nelson's mess, but also about Sarah's job, Emily's school. It's easy, like we've known each other longer than an afternoon. When I finally stand to leave, Sarah walks me to the door. Thanks for telling me about Nina, she says, voice low. And for listening. I nod. Anytime. Seriously. She smiles, small but real. Maybe I'll take you up on that. I drive home with the windows down, the wind whipping through the car, my mind spinning Nina's blind devotion, Nelson's lies, Sarah's quiet resilience. But there's something else too, a flicker of hope. Sarah and Emily, they're a second chance maybe. Not just for them, but for me. I grip the wheel tighter, a grin tugging at my lips. Nina thinks she's winning, but I'm already moving on. It's been 6 months since I met Sarah, and somehow, she's become the center of my world. We started as friend-sto people burned by the same fire, sharing stories over coffee, venting about Nelson and Nina. But somewhere between the late-night talks and the quiet moments, it turned into more. Tonight's our first real date, and I'm standing in front of the mirror, adjusting my collar for the 10th time. You look fine, Sarah says, leaning in the doorway, her smile teasing. I grin back, nerves melting, just making sure. We end up at a little Italian place, the kind with checkered tablecloths and candles dripping wax. The air smells like garlic and red wine, and Sarah's laughing at some dumb joke I made. It's easy with here easier than it ever was with Nina. You're different now, she says, twirling her fork in her pasta. I raise an eyebrow. Different how? She shrugs. Lighter. Like you're not carrying the world on your shoulders. I nod, knowing she's right. With her, I can breathe. A few weeks later, I'm sprawled on the living room floor, surrounded by glitter and glue. Emily's school projected diorama of the solar system is due tomorrow, and we're knee-deep in construction paper planets. Saturn needs rings, she insists, handing me a strip of foil. I laugh, taping it on. You're the boss. She beams, her gap-toothed smile lighting up the room. Sarah watches from the couch, her eyes soft. You're good with her, she says later when Emily's asleep. I shrug, but inside I'm glowing. She makes it easy. Months pass, and I'm at the park, pushing Emily on the swings. Higher, Ray, she squeals, kicking her legs. I push harder, her laughter ringing out. When she jumps off, she runs to me, wrapping her arms around my waist. You're like my dad, she says, casual as anything. My heart stops. I kneel down, meeting her eyes. I'd like that, I say, voice thick. She grins, oblivious to the weight of it, and runs off to the slide. But for me, it's everything. The wedding, small just family, and a few friends. In a garden with fairy lights strung through the trees. I'm standing at the altar, palms sweaty. When Sarah appears, her dress simple but stunning. Emily's beside her, tossing petals. My throat tightens as they walk toward me, the setting sun casting a golden glow. You ready? Sarah whispers when she reaches me. I take her hand, squeezing it, more than ever. The vows are a blur, but when I say I do, it feels like coming home. Later, at the reception, we dance under the stars, her head on my shoulder. I never thought I'd get this again, I murmur. She pulls back, eyes shining. Me neither, but here we are. I kiss her, slow and sweet, the music fading into the background. It's perfect till Emily tugs on my sleeve, demanding a dance. I laugh, spinning her around, her giggles filling the air. This is my family now. A year later, I'm in the kitchen, washing dishes, when Sarah slips in, her hands behind her back. What's up? I ask, drying my hands. She bites her lip, then holds out a small box. I eat a tiny pair of socks. My brain stalls. Wait, are you? She nods, tears in her eyes. Yeah, we're having a baby. I pull her into my arms, laughing, crying, everything at once. I can't believe it, I whisper. She smiles against my chest. Believe it. That night, I lie awake, Sarah asleep beside me, her hand on my chest. The house is quiet, Emily down the hall, our future growing inside Sarah. I think back to that Friday night, to Nina's text, to the rage and betrayal. It feels like another life. Now, I've got a second chance I never saw coming. I turn, kissing Sarah's forehead, and close my eyes. For the first time in years, I'm at peace. It's been a year since I married Sarah, and life has settled into something I never dared dream of after Nina tore through my world like a hurricane. I'm at the mall food court on a busy Saturday afternoon, grabbing a quick slice of pizza before heading home. The place buzzes with inner families laughing over trays of fries, kids darting between tables, the air thick with the mingled scents of greasy burgers, sugary cinnamon rolls, and spilled soda. I'm perched on a wobbly metal chair halfway through my pepperoni slice when I catch a glimpse of her through the crowd. Nina, strutting toward me with that familiar sway in her hips, like she's still the queen of every room she enters. My stomach twists into a knot, but I force myself to stay calm, wiping my mouth with a crumpled napkin and leaning back in my seat. Ray? Her voice cuts through the clamor, laced with a theatrical surprise that doesn't reach her eyes. Wow, didn't expect to see you here. I look up, locking onto her gaze. She's wearing that smug smile, the one she'd flash whenever she thought she'd landed the winning blow in one of our old arguments. Her hair's dyed a sharper blonde now, and she's draped in a flashy jacket that screams money. Nina, I say evenly, giving her a curt nod. What's up? Her eyes flick to my half-eaten pizza, then back to me, her smirk stretching wider. This your idea of happiness now? A greasy slice all by yourself? Pathetic. She leans in closer, dropping her voice to a conspiratorial hiss. Meanwhile, I'm married to Nelson. We're living the dream, Ray. I nearly choke on a laugh. Living the dream? With Nelson, the guy who couldn't hold a job or pay a bill to save his life? But I don't take the bait knot yet. I just take another slow bite of my pizza, chewing deliberately as I meet her stare. Good for you, I say, keeping my tone flat. She huffs, her nostrils flaring slightly, clearly irritated that I'm not rising to her taunt. You don't get it, do you? I'm happy, Ray, really happy. Better than I ever was with you. I raise an eyebrow, letting a hint of skepticism slip through. Sure you are. She opens her mouth to fire back, her lips curling into a snarl. But before she can get a word out, a familiar voice slices through the food court din. Hey, sorry we're late. It's Sarah, her tone bright and warm, cutting through the noise like a lifeline. I turn my head, and there they are, Sarah and Emily, weaving their way through the bustling crowd. Sarah's got her dark hair pulled back in a messy bun, a shopping bag swinging from one hand, while Emily bounces beside her, a bright red balloon bobbing above her wrist. Her little face is lit up with excitement, her eyes wide as she scans the food court chaos. My chest loosens at the sight of them, the tension from Nina's presence melting away. Nina stiffens beside me, her eyes darting between Sarah and Emily as they approach. "Who's this?" she asks, her voice tightening like a coiled spring. I stand up, sliding an arm around Sarah's waist as she reaches the table. "Nina," I say, my voice steady and deliberate. "Meet my wife, Sarah, and our daughter, Emily." Nina's jaw drops, her smug mask slipping as her face pales. "Wife? Daughter?" she sputters, her gaze bouncing from Sarah's calm smile to Emily, who's now tugging insistently on my sleeve. "Can I get ice cream, Dad?" Emily asks, her voice bubbling with innocence, completely oblivious to the storm brewing around her. I grin down at her, ruffling her soft curls with my free hand. "Sure thing, kiddo." Nina's still reeling, her eyes narrowing as she tries to regain her footing. "Wait, Sarah?" As in Nelson's ex-Sarah? Sarah steps forward, her smile cool but polite, a steel edge glinting beneath it. "That's right," she says smoothly. "Nice to meet you, Nina." Nina's lips twist into a sneer, her composure cracking. "You married his ex? That's desperate." Sarah lets out a soft laugh, unfazed, her head tilting slightly as she sizes Nina up. "Desperate? No happy?" "Absolutely." Nina's fists clench at her sides, her knuckles whitening as her bravado starts to crumble. "You don't know what you're talking about," she snaps. "Nelson and I are perfect together." That's when Sarah drops the hammer, her voice calm but cutting. "Oh, I know all about you and Nelson, especially how you've been paying his debts." Nina blinks, confusion flashing across her face. "What?" Sarah's smile sharpens, her eyes locking onto Nina's. "The money you've been giving him every month? It's not for his debts. It's for Emily's child support. He's been funneling it straight to me." The air seems to freeze around us. Nina's face goes slack, her mouth opening and closing like a stranded fish gasping for water. That's not true," she stammers. "He said it was for his loans." I step in now, my voice low and firm, driving the point home. "He lied, Nina, just like he lied to Sarah back then, just like he's lying to you now." She shakes her head furiously, taking a step back as if she can physically escape the truth. "No, you're wrong. He loves me. He needs me." Sarah crosses her arms, her posture relaxed but unyielding. "He needed your money. That's it." Nina's eyes snap to me, wild and desperate, searching for any crack in the story. "Ray, tell her she's wrong. Tell her." But I just shrug, letting the weight of reality settle on her shoulders. "It's the truth. You've been played." Her breath hitches, a choke sound escaping her throat as she stumbles backward. "Two have to go," she mutters, her voice breaking. She turns and bolts, nearly tripping over a chair in her frantic retreat, her flashy jacket flapping behind her as she vanishes into the sea of people. I watch her go, a strange cocktail of satisfaction and pity swirling in my chest. Sarah's hand brushes my arm, grounding me. "You okay?" she asks softly. I nod, pulling her closer, her warmth seeping into me. "Yeah, better than okay." Emily tugs on my hand again, her impatience breaking through the lingering tension. "Ice cream now?" I laugh, the sound freeing, and scoop her up into my arms. "Let's go, kiddo." Later that night, I'm sprawled on the couch in our living room. Sarah curled up beside me, her head resting on my shoulder. Emily's asleep upstairs, her balloon tied to her bedpost, the house wrapped in a rare, peaceful quiet. The television hums softly in the background, but neither of us is really watching. "You think she'll leave him?" Sarah asks, her voice a gentle murmur against my chest. I sigh, running a hand through her hair. "Maybe, or maybe she'll double down, convince herself she can fix him. Either way, it's not my problem anymore." She tilts her head up, her eyes searching mine. "You're really over her, huh?" I lean down, pressing a kiss to her forehead, lingering there for a moment. "Completely." The next morning, my phone buzzes with a call from a mutual friend, someone who still orbits the edges of Nina's chaotic world. "You won't believe this," he says, his voice crackling with gossip. "Nina and Nelson had a blowout last night. She confronted him about the money, and he admitted everything, said he never loved her, just needed the cash to keep the collectors off his back. She lost it, screaming, crying, the works. Then she packed a bag and took off. No one knows where she went. I lean against the kitchen counter, a mug of coffee warming my hands, listening as he keeps going. Nelson's gone too. Debt collectors caught up with him, and he skipped town. His family stepping in to cover Emily's child support now guess they're ashamed of the mess he turned into. I hang up, setting the phone down with a quiet clink. Sarah's at the stove, flipping pancakes for Emily, who's chattering about her balloon from the table. I step up behind her, wrapping my arms around her waist, and she leans back into me. "Everything okay?" she asks, glancing over her shoulder. I nod, resting my chin on her head. "Yeah, Nina's gone. Nelson's running, and his family's taking care of Emily's support." She turns in my arms, a small smile tugging at her lips. "So, it's over?" I grin, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "It's over." A week later, Sarah sits me down after dinner, her hands fidgeting in her lap. "I've got news," she says, her eyes bright. "I'm pregnant. It's a boy." The words hit me like a wave, and I pull her into a hug, laughing into her hair as Emily races in, demanding to know what's so funny. I scoop her up too, spinning them both around the kitchen until we're all breathless and giggling. Nina thought she'd break me, thought she'd walk away the victor with her shiny new life. But she didn't. She just set me free to build this. A family I'd fight for, die for, live for. And that, I think as I hold them close, is the sweetest revenge of all. I'm sitting on the porch, the late afternoon sun stretching shadows across the yard. Emily's out in the grass, her laughter weaving through the rustling leaves. Inside, Sarah's resting her bellies round her now, our son kicking like he's ready to burst into this noisy, beautiful world. I sip my coffee, its warmth seeping into me, and exhale slowly. It's been a year since that day at the food court, when Nina's life fell apart and mine finally found its shape. I think of Nina occasionally, not with bitterness anymore, but a faint, distant pity. Word is she's moved far away, to some small town where her past doesn't follow. Nelson's gone too, lost to his debts and deceit. His family sends Emily's child support every month, a quiet apology for the wreckage he caused. But they don't matter to me now. They're just whispers, growing fainter every day. Sarah steps outside, hand on her stomach, and settles beside me. "You're quiet," she says, nudging my shoulder. I smile, slipping an arm around her. "Just thinking." She rests her head against me. "About what?" I glance at Emily, chasing a butterfly, her curls bouncing wildly. "About how lucky I am," I say softly. "How I almost missed this." Sarah's fingers lace through mine, squeezing. "But you didn't. We didn't." I nod, the truth of it heavy in my chest. Nina thought she'd shattered me, thought she'd won something better. She never saw this coming me, happy, complete, with a family that's mine in every way that counts. I kiss Sarah's temple, breathing in her familiar scent. "I love you," I whisper. She smiles, eyes crinkling. "Love you too." Emily races over, breathless and beaming, clutching a dandelion. "Make a wish, Dad," she insists, shoving it into my hand. I twirl the stem, grinning. "All right." I close my eyes briefly, then blow, sending the seeds dancing in the wind. Emily claps, thrilled. "What'd you wish for?" she asks, hopping excitedly. I ruffle her hair, pulling her into a hug. "For this," I say, nodding at us all. "For everything to stay just like this." Later, as the sun sinks below the horizon, I tuck Emily into bed. Her eyes droop as she burrows into her blanket. "Night, kiddo," I murmur, kissing her forehead. "Night, Dad," she mumbles. Downstairs, Sarah's on the couch, a book resting on her lap. I sit beside her, our hands finding each other effortlessly. "Think he'll be as wild as Emily?" she asks, rubbing her belly. I laugh. "Hope so. Keeps life fun." She chuckles, and I draw her closer, feeling her heartbeat sync with mine. This is my life now, chaotic, loud, overflowing with love. Nina's a distant memory, her shadow long gone. I've got everything I need right here, and that's more than enough. My revenge isn't loud or vengeful, it's this: living well, loving deeply, and never looking back.